What up guys, today we're gonna speed run a little crash course with Davinci Resolve, one of the best editing softwares on the face of the planet. Let's go. Alright guys, so the first thing you're gonna do is open up Davinci Resolve Studio 18.6. You're gonna click on this untitled project, and what this is gonna do is allow you to have a brand new project. You're gonna start off by hitting Command and S if you're on a Mac. And then you're going to title this to save whatever title you want it to be listed under. This is just going to be test for the sake of this. And now it's been saved under test. So if I ever want to come back to it, it'll be listed as test. Now, right up here, you have your master folder. This is the master tab. What you're going to do is click where it says no clips in media pool. Click there and then hit Command and I. And what that'll do is open up and allow you to import footage. But before we import footage, we're gonna hit cancel, and we're gonna go over to this and hit Control, and we're gonna use the right click on the mouse. And it'll give us the option to make a new bin, and what this will do is allow us to have better file organization. So I can make a master folder, click into it, and then hit Control, right-hand click, and go New Bin, and go DSLR footage. Or maybe I have something like my Ursa. So I could do Ursa, so now I know that that's all my Ursa footage. This just helps us stay a lot more organized. And if you actually want to navigate this a little bit easier, there's a little drop-down menu right here where it allows you to actually click on the folders, and now you have access to the folders. Now, when importing your footage, you want to click on the folder that you want to import it into. So, for example, right here, the DSLR footage, we would click into here, and you can see that we're in the DSLR. We'd hit Command-I to import our footage. We'd go over here, and we'd find our footage. Okay, so we have these two clips. I'm gonna hit open and they're going to import in here. It's gonna ask if you wanna change the project frame rate. You say yes, change it. It just makes your workflow a lot more efficient. Now, if you wanna throw it in the timeline, you can just grab it and bring it into the timeline. However, there are a few other ways you can do this and have the same exact effect. For example, if you come down here to the Edit tab and click on that, you can actually click on the DSLR folder, find your file, click on it, and then right here, find your in point. You hit I on the keyboard to set your in point. And then if you find your out point, you would hit O for the out point. And now you can grab the footage and drop that in. And now that just has from your in point to your out point. You also have the ability to look at this, click on this, and you can just bring the video down, or you can just bring the audio down separately. So by using these two little tabs right here, you have the ability to just choose video or audio, which is something I just learned. Now this is called the playhead, this little orange line right here. This allows you to scrub through your timeline and see what you're looking at, which exact frame you're on. You can also use the arrow keys on your keyboard and use that to move the playhead left and right to get a more exact frame of exactly where you're at. Now, if you want to zoom in on your timeline, you would hold down Command and you can use the plus or the minus key. If I hit it once, you'll notice the timeline's doubled in size. If you hit it twice, it's quadrupled in size. So if you look at it, you can actually use the plus and minus to zoom in or zoom out, and you can see the individual frames now. If you hit the up arrow key on your Mac, it'll go forward to the very beginning of your clip, and if you hit the bottom arrow key, it'll go to the very end of your clip. These are really, really helpful shortcuts, and I promise it's way better to just learn the shortcuts. If you want to just play through your footage, you can just hit the space bar. Now, there's a few things with Davinci that you should understand. Right here, we have a bunch of these tabs at the bottom. You don't need to really worry about this first tab, which is the media tab. You don't really need to worry about the cutting tab. You don't really need to worry about the fusion tab yet. You don't need to worry about the color tab yet, unless you really need to color grade footage, and we're not covering that in this tutorial. And we're not going to mess with the Fairlight tab. The only two tabs we're gonna mess with is right here in the Edit tab and right here in the Deliver/Export tab. Now I'm gonna show you guys how to cut your footage. So let's say I see this footage of my wife and she's standing there looking at this building, and I want it to fade to a closer shot of just her hair or something like that. Let's say right about here before I pull that building into focus. So right before, I would use the arrow keys, go over here, and you can actually use the keys J, K, and L. And this will allow you, J goes backwards, K will pause it and play, and then L will play and go forward. So you can use J, K, and L, kind of just a top tip editor tip, you know, top tier editor tip tier tutorial. But if we go here right to before it blurs, we select our clip, we hold down Command and hit B, it'll actually splice our clip into 2 separate sections. Now, if I highlight this and hit delete on my keyboard, it deletes the end of that clip. I then can click on this clip, use my in and out points to just select the part where her hair's in focus, and then pull down this video right here onto the play line. Now, if I zoom in right here, you can see this is very short. So if I play it through, it's maybe 2 seconds, which is not bad, but I want it to be a little longer. So I would hit Command and R to retime and have retime controls. And then there's this little arrow right here. If I zoom in, you can see it better. It says 100%. That means this is played at 100%, the speed that you recorded it, exact percent that you recorded it at. Right here, if I click on this and change speed, go to 50%, it is now 50% slow motion. So right here, it's slowed down a lot. You can see that in the hair. And this helps with stabilization purposes, but notice it doesn't do anything to the audio. So that's a whole nother issue you can figure out in another tutorial, but this tutorial is focusing just on the basics. So we click the X right here, and let's say we wanted to add a crossfade between these. What I would do is come over here to video transitions in the toolbox, go to something like a cross dissolve. Now there's a ton of different video transitions here, audio transitions. We're not gonna mess with too much of those. I just wanna show you guys the cross dissolve because this is one of the highest used video transitions ever. So we're gonna go in here and we're going to retime this by grabbing the edges and make it smaller because we want it to happen faster. So if I go here, you can see that gives us a nice cross dissolve onto that video right there. And you can play with it and fiddle with it, and you can make it longer to where that cross dissolve takes longer, but I just like that it doesn't take as long and that it kind of gets to the point. So with that being said, we're gonna move on to our titles. Now, if let's say I wanted to put a title right here next to my wife that just says something like, "This is my wife." And if I clicked on basic title, drag this up here, and you notice this right here, this little title box opens. Now this is the inspector tab, and this is gonna become your best friend. Right here I can change the title to say, "This is my wife." And yes, I can change the color, the font, and the size, and all this other stuff. And you don't need to worry about too much of this. You can add a drop shadow, which is really awesome. You can add a background to it. There's a lot of things you can do here. One of my favorite ways to move this is just make sure you click on it and come over here and click on this, and now you can actually reposition this in the sky. Now notice how this is really hard to read. It's because the font is white. Now if I come here, click on this, change this to black, now you can clearly see this font is showing up a heck of a lot better. Let's say I wanted to fade that title on. All you have to do is come to the beginning of the clip, drag this over, and now it'll smoothly fade on. Same thing goes for wanting it to fade off. You just grab the end and move it on over, and now it'll smoothly fade off. Now, one thing to note is something called generators. Now, there's a lot of stuff under here in this toolbox under generators, and you don't need to worry about most of it. Right here, there's this solid color, and this is one of your best friends. Let's say you want a background that's just a random color, and you need that generated. You would just grab solid color, drag it onto your timeline, and this is gonna default to black. So if I click on it, it's gonna look like there's nothing there. But if you go over here to the inspector tab and click on the color, you now can change this to any color that you want it to be. So now we have this nice cyan. And if I hit OK, then I can drag this text over it, and you can see we've created a title slide. This comes in handy for a ton of things. I can't even begin to explain how helpful this one thing is to just know. There's a lot of other little settings to Davinci. One of the things I want to show you guys really fast is in when you're cutting. So let's say I didn't want the beginning from this side of the playhead, the left side. We didn't want any of this video. So I would hit Command B and cut it. And then if I select this, delete this, you notice there's all this blank room, right? So now you can hit Command, use the minus, select everything, and drag this forward. And now you've brought everything forward. Let's say that there's a space in between just two clips like this. You can click on the empty space, hit delete on your keyboard on the audio and the video, and it'll literally slide those two forward. You can also use the plus and minus right here to zoom into your timeline, just like how I'm using Command and minus and plus. Now right down here, this little rocket ship is going to allow you to export your footage. Now if you notice right here, there's these little selected areas, these in and out points, if it'll let me grab any of it. But right here is going to give you your in and out range, or you can go to entire timeline. This will select literally your entire timeline. Now right here, you're gonna browse for where you want this to be delivered, which would be your desktop or your render folder or your export folder, wherever you have those. Hit open, and this allows it to write to that location. Then you would title it. This one's gonna be My Wife. And right here, you would pick your format. Now I like to export in MP4. It's just a decent format. And then right down here, a lot of people do H.265. I like to do H.264. It's what I grew up doing. Right here, my resolution, I like to change it and upscale this. Now upscaling is a whole nother video. So normally you'll just leave this alone, but for the purposes of this video, I'm just gonna leave it at 3840 by 2160 Ultra HD and upscale it so you guys can see if you wanna try this at home. This essentially takes your 1080 quality video and upscales it to 4K digitally, but it's not true 4K, so it gets complicated. But then all you have to do is make sure that your frame rate is right, make sure everything else looks good, hit add to render queue, hit add the higher resolution render, and then hit render all and let it do its job. This might take a good hot minute. But after everything's said and done, that should be just about everything. And now you know the crash course basics to Davinci. Good luck editing videos, keep making content, keep creating videos and doing stuff, and make sure you comment below what you want to see next. And for now, I will see you guys on Film Friday. Thanks for watching this Tutorial Tuesday. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, follow along, and we'll see you guys then.